everyone. I'm Jeff Freckenbach, the chairman of the board here at Policy Matters Ohio. I suppose I need to start with a little explanation. Over the past week leading up to this, I've received all kinds of notes from Cynthia and Caitlin about this event. Who we could insult, who we couldn't insult, how long I could talk, and a host of other admonitions. One of the notes said this event honoring Amy would be formal. On rereading it this afternoon, I now see that it says this event is only a formality. So my mistake, not a total waste. I'm still wearing my sweatpants.
Oh my goodness. Talk about big shoes to fill. I have Amy in this job and Jeff as co-host. I'm in trouble, you all, but we're gonna get through it together. First, hello, Policy Matters family. Thank you all so much for taking some time out of your quarantine to join us on yet another Zoom meeting call. I'm sure that's been a lot of fun for you. We're glad you can carve out this moment for us. I've been really lucky to learn from so many of you that are joining us this afternoon, to lean on many of you as I've been trying to pick up the reins from Amy in this organization, and doing it just in time for the global pandemic. And really, it's been fun. Let's get into it here. Let's not delay any longer. We'll start off with our first roaster, John Ryan. John was a founding board member at Policy Matters Ohio. You may know him from his work with, I don't know, a state senator, or maybe, I don't know, you may have heard of him, Senator Sherrod Brown, I don't know. And, you know, he's a dear friend of Amy's. He's a dear friend of Policy Matters. He's going to give us a little bit more on our origin story. So here's some info from John.
Good evening. I was told I had to be funny and talk about Amy Hanauer. Unless I'm her daughter, that's impossible, because Amy is a smart, caring person who is driven to make change, not jokes. People like to follow Amy. It started when State Senator C.J. Prentice called me. She wanted to know if I knew Amy Hanauer. I didn't. C.J. was upset with me, but yet it turned out that she didn't know Amy. She was impressed with the series of stories about working people in the Akron Beacon Journal based on Amy's work. C.J. wanted to follow Amy, so I wanted to follow Amy. C.J., Michael Charney, and I soon met with Amy, and that discussion led to the formation of Policy Matters. Amy, Mike Charney, and I then met with the Gun Foundation. It was a critical presentation. Amy spoke first, and they seemed to really dislike her ideas. Mike Charney then tried to bail her out and failed worse. I then spoke, and they hated my ideas even more. Yet Dave Burkholz wanted to follow Amy and awarded her with $250,000 grants, moving Policy Matters along. Then we needed a name. The name the new board came up with sounded more like a local selling beer. Good thing Amy enjoys wine, or we would have been known as the Crooked River Policy Institute. The media would have thought we were formed by California state resident, former Commissioner Jimmy DeMora. Amy, thank you for your service, your brains, your care, and your commitment to Policy Matters, to our community, and to your family. We wish you the best of luck in the future, and that you continue to make meaningful trouble.
Thank you, John. I don't know if John is on or just his video is on, and I don't know when I'm allowed to speak, so I'm allowed to speak?
Yeah, it's your show.
All right, well, John remembers many of the same stories I do, and it is great to see him.
So Amy, if you want to check your messages and read your first shout out.
All right, hold on. I knew there was a reason that you guys wanted me to have my phone. Okay, this is from Jennifer Lehner. Oh boy. Thank you, Jen. I think, if it walks like a duck and talks like a very funny and smart lady from New Jersey, it might be Amy Hanauer. She can drink whiskey straight up the night before running a marathon and then hula hoop you into the ground and recite poetry and random song lyrics. This is all true. Mideast peace policy, much less true. And early childhood education in the same breath. It's hard to roast someone like Amy because she's so awesome, but she does walk like a duck. That is true. Cheers to Jen. I miss you. I love you, sister. And cheers to walking like a duck.
We're calling that
I got that from my father, I should say, and I know he's on.
We've decided in the office we're calling that a determined walk, a walk with purpose and meaning. So we value this as one of the many things that we love about you, Amy. So thanks for playing our super fun games, and we're sorry. All right, deep breath, ready? Because next up is Joyce Goldstein. And Joyce is also a founding board member for Policy Matters Ohio, and she was the first woman in the United States to start her own law firm dedicated to the representation of unions and workers. And before this video, she was a really good friend of Amy's, and we'll see where that's at after this.
Hi, Amy. It's your friend Joyce Goldstein. Amy and I met 20 years ago when she founded Policy Matters Ohio. Everyone who knows Amy knows she's so hard to roast because she possesses so many wonderful qualities. She's smart, determined, loyal, and she's such a perfectionist. She knows what she wants, and she always knows how to get there. Now, I'm not saying that Amy's pushy. I'd say she encourages with extreme intensity. Speaking of fashion, Amy has her own sense of fashion, and she makes fun of herself about it. And for good reason. I would say that Amy's fashion sense is a mélange of style, or as the French would say, what the hell is that? Part hipster, part hippie, part what fell off of the hanger, and part what no one else is wearing this season. Her hats. Amy loves her hats. The pussy hat, the if I spin in circles, I'll make you dizzy hat, and the shoes. Amy's Altacacker shoes. Well, otherwise known as old lady shoes. Or Amy's, when I'm done here, I have a ballet lesson. Let's call it the shoe show. Amy came to Cleveland for Milwaukee in 2000. But anyone who knows Amy knows that Amy is from New Jersey. And Amy takes great pride in being a Jersey girl. Now, defining a Jersey girl is not easy. But we have a short song that sums up why Amy fancies herself a Jersey girl.
Born in West Orange in New Jersey. 5 foot tall, thinks she's 6'3". Never debate her on tax policy. Mess with Amy and you'll be sorry. Amy Hanauer, woman who takes no shit.
Thanks, boys. Well, seriously, I have been lucky enough to know Amy in so many different capacities, professionally and personally. Through all of it, I've watched Amy in every role and circumstance, always passionate and committed, always with a big heart and an incisive mind. Amy, you are an amazing mother, daughter, sister, wife, friend. And although we both have other biological sisters, we will forever be joined as sisters by choice. I love you. Good luck in your future.
Wow. And I'm glad to know what you think of my shoe.
This is Katrina, Amy's 19-year-old daughter. She is a lifetime fan of Policy Matters Ohio. Her history with the organization includes criticizing the outfits Amy chose for most major events, meetings, and speeches, and advocating for more dog-friendly policies at the Perkins office. So here's a little snapshot of Katrina with her friend Isabella rallying against the infamous and defeated Senate Bill 5, the failed attempt to restrict collective bargaining rights for public employees in Ohio. So let's hear some kind and loving words from Katrina.
Hi, good evening. My name's Katrina Cassell. I wish I could be with all of you in person today, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm Amy's daughter, and I love Policy Matters Ohio, and I'm pretty critical of my mom, so this is actually a really great event for me. I'll just get right into it. When I was in elementary school, I was asked what my mom did for a living, and I said she checked email, and that remains true. In all reality, though, my mom tried really hard, I think, to sort of achieve that ideal work-life balance. And I think, I have vivid memories that I'll cherish for the rest of my life of my mom, with us at the playground, checking her email, on family vacations, checking her email, at soccer games, checking her email. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. She didn't really come to many of my soccer games, but those of you who worked in an office with my mom got sort of a first-hand lens at her lunchtime cuisine and sort of the innovation that she tends to employ. And I think it's really funny, like when some people think of their moms cooking, they think of like a beloved pot roast or cookie recipe. And when I think of like culinary classics of my mom's, I think of the hard-boiled egg in a microwave technique. So for those of you who aren't familiar, if you get a bowl and you put the right amount of water and salt and a raw egg and you put it in the microwave, it becomes a hard-boiled egg. And if you get the ratios wrong, it actually explodes. So therein sort of lies the charm of that dish. I know there are a lot of people here together today on this Zoom who have contributed to my mom's career in some way, and I think that's beautiful. But one person who probably isn't here and who I wish was, because he's really just played a wonderful role in my mom's life and in my life and in probably many of your lives too, is Greg. So for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of knowing Greg or sort of experiencing one of his spirited conversations with my mom, I've gathered some photos of them together. Here is one when my mom was talking about so-called right to work, and there's Greg right there on the left. And here they are with Karen Kassler, all laughing, having fun together. I really like that one. Here my mom is saying something about union density, and Greg's reaction is actually something I can really relate to. Not about that specific remark about union density, but because my mom can be really frustrating to talk to sometimes, and I think Greg really reflects that. When I was a Girl Scout, I was actually the only girl in my troop whose badges were stapled on rather than like sewn or like ironed, and that was actually my father's doing. But I don't think that we've like progressed to a point in society that it doesn't still qualify as a roast of my mother. My mom only had 2 children because that's what the literature was suggesting at the time for eco-conscious people, and but I really do think that Policy Matters counts as a 3rd child, at least in terms of like time and resource allocation. And I couldn't have asked for a better older sibling. I mean, I do like have an older sibling. I have an older brother named Max. But Policy Matters really filled in all of those ways that Max couldn't. And my childhood wouldn't have been the same without it, and I don't think Ohio would be the same without it. And I'm so thankful for and awed by the work that you guys do every day to make lives better for working people in Ohio. So thank you so much for this beautiful event and for letting me speak, and yay for Amy Hanauer. To know her is to love her, so thanks.
All right, thank you all very much. I actually sort of figured out late last night that Katrina was going to have a slot, but I didn't. I was scared, as you all can now see why. I was scared. My kids are amazing, and Katrina did not follow in my footsteps, but she followed in Joyce's footsteps because she's studying labor relations. at Cornell, and because she is here in DC with us for the last couple of weeks of her semester, since they shut down early to avoid pandemic, I get to hear her in the next room doing collective bargaining. And I just want to say that she bargained really effectively with us throughout her childhood before she got any training. So I'm gonna just kind of quake and stay in my room from here on in. I want to say my son is probably not on this call because he's less attentive than his sister. If he is, hi Max. But one of the other testaments, I think, to my parenting is I remember once when Max was really little and I could hear him, he was very upset because I disciplined him for something, and he was kind of crying in his room and kind of talking to himself the way little kids do when they're sort of trying to process something. And I could hear Max in his room saying, she might care about the working people, but she doesn't care about me. And so I think that that summarizes how my kids interpreted my approach to work-life balance. All right, I'm gonna read my sister torturing me. Okay, this is from my sister Kathy, who's a professional writer, so it's probably not fair. As Amy's narcissistic older sister, I can speak for her fierce loyalty. That's true. The cheerful, spunky little third born of our family, she carried my books to elementary school so I could walk hands-free with my cool older friends. That's true. Now, as then, she listens, advises, compliments. We forgive her childhood birthday dinner requests for boiled tongue, her lifelong affinity for corny poetry, because of her generosity, intelligence, good-heartedness, easy laugh, unguarded, open-minded, shrewd, savvy, smart. She adored the exceptional Policy Matters Ohio. The world is a better place because of beautiful Amy. Thank you. That was actually much, much, much nicer than what I was expecting from my older sisters. My other sister, Judy, who probably did not submit, she told me she was not going to submit words, but she once kicked me in the hip with clogs on and like creating a tennis ball sized lump on my hip, and then told me that if I told my parents, she would kick the other hip. So that is how I grew up, knowing that to be tortured is to be loved.
This is your roast, not hers.
Right. Well, you're in good shape for tonight then. You're well prepared for this then. And we have a final roaster tonight, and this is Dave Megenhart. He is the executive director of the United Labor Agency, but more importantly, he was a founding board member of Policy Matters Ohio. He's the author of 2 novels, and I think after you see this video, you're all going to agree that he has a real future in video production.
Oh, hey, hi. I didn't see you there. I was expecting you a little later. My name's Dave Megenhart. I'm executive director of the United Labor Agency. I'm speaking to you tonight because I was one of the witnesses to the birth of Policy Matters Ohio. Origin stories can be lost over time, because people and memories fade. Historical fact can be replaced by legends and mythologies. You think about eyewitness accounts can also be prone to subjectivity, score settling, agendas, and frankly, self-aggrandizement. I'm going to do my best to avoid these pitfalls. I'm a really big fan of historical reenactments. So for the next few minutes, I thought we'd employ this technique and we could go back 20 years and talk to Amy Hanauer at the time of the birth of Policy Matters Ohio. What you need to know is background at this point. We've given her a $30,000 check, which is the first check that Policy Matters received as far as funding. The ULA was pretty much the last $30,000 we had. We were so far in debt, it didn't matter. And we just decided we thought Amy was a good bet. And what's the difference between $1 million in debt and $970,000 in debt? It worked out for ULA, don't worry, we're fine. We retired all of that and we're financially sound. But we've given her the money and we've given her luxurious office space for her to be able to write for more grants and to get support so Policy Matters could thrive. So let's go visit Amy now and let's go to her office. Come on. Hey, Amy.
Hey, Dave. Look, I know the actress doesn't look like Amy Hanauer. Policy Matters spared every expense in making these videos, so we had to get our video editor to fill in. So just for a minute, suspend your disbelief, okay? So here we are, you know, talking to 20 years ago Amy, and I want to ask her a question. So, where do you want to be in 20 years? Where do you want Policy Matters to be in 20 years? I mean, as a matter of fact, where do you want Ohio to be in 20 years?
Wow, old Dave. 20 years is a long time. I think I'd like to build Policy Matters into a leading voice to create a more vibrant, equitable, sustainable, inclusive Ohio through research, strategic communications, coalition building, and policy advocacy.
You are consistent.
Look, old Dave, Ohio needs a fair economy with good jobs, workers' rights, smart training, and opportunity for all. Armed with information and hope, we can elect a leader that reflects the will of the people, not a privileged minority bent on subverting the system. Even a guy like Al Gore is a step in the right direction and could easily win Ohio.
Whoa. This is a little unfair. Why don't we cut so I can get 20 years ago Amy up to speed?
Well, future Ohioans, I am having trouble processing what old Dave just told me. I'm hoping that it's some sort of elaborate prank. But just in case it's not, I'd like to give you some words of advice. To keep fighting, win within reason, and great research. Be relentless with your enemies and kind to your friends. And most of all, believe that there's hope for a better future. Well, I have to get back to my office now. Dave, do you think that the heat will ever be turned on?
Well, it's hard to say, Amy, and these old buildings have finicky boilers. But anyway, happy anniversary, Policy Matters Ohio. I hope you have 20 more successful years. It's the best $30,000 that United Labor Agency ever spent.
That is awesome. Am I allowed to react to that?
Yeah, he's got a real future in this, I think.
That is unbelievable. Well, I will just say that Dave, it's true that he wrote me my very first check. It's true that he gave me office space. That was actually not that was a pretty realistic description of the office space that they gave me at the United Labor Agency. And what Dave didn't reveal is that in every meeting, he almost got me in big trouble by making faces across the room. I was 30 years old when I started Policy Matters, but I had the giggle suppression reflexes of a 14-year-old, and Dave was very skilled at exploiting that. And then we moved to the Perkins building, where we still are. And what I loved most about the Perkins building was that also in that building was the Homeless Coalition, service agency for formerly incarcerated men, entity that picked up compost on bicycles called Rust Belt Riders. And I found out late one night a pole dancing class, like an entity that provided classes in pole dancing. So what I loved most about that building was that there were lots and lots of fights about the security system and people letting people into the building without permission. And I always felt like the credentials to get into that building was either you wanted to get better training in pole dancing, you had been incarcerated, you were homeless, or you picked up garbage on a bicycle. And that always made me, those are the people that I feel happiest and healthiest around. And that is still where Policy Matters Ohio is. Anyway, I love you all. I love you, Dave. It is amazing to see you all. And this was a pretty hilarious Zoom call.
And I think we're going to submit the video to that Comedy Central show, Drunk History. You know, they may not have been drunk, but I think they could pass for it. So at this point, this is where I make one more ask for some support. We are so grateful to Amy for being such a good sport as we mark this important milestone for Policy Matters. For 20 years, Policy Matters has been the people's think tank, and your support helps provide a statewide voice for economic, racial, and climate justice.
Did not know that it was that in normal jobs, everybody doesn't love everybody as much as I love everybody at Policy Matters Ohio, but it is so great to see you all, and thank you all so much for joining. And every name on every list of sponsors, of attendees, and of people that got to speak, all just made me so happy in 2020 when it's hard to be happy. So thank you all so much for supporting this little organization that could.
Thank you, Amy, for what you've built, what you continue to build, for your friendship, for being a good sport. You have changed this state. Your work will continue to change this state. You have changed my life in very real and specific ways. I'm so grateful for who you are and what you've done here. And I just, there aren't words, and we miss you. And really for helping us make Ohio a more vibrant, more equitable, sustainable, and inclusive place. So you all keep fighting and stay safe. Thank you.
Love you all.